Hello, and we are back again with technically our last official monthly check-in for this homeschool year. May is generally when we're all just like, we're done. I don't I don't want to plan anymore, I don't want to do anymore, and that's okay. We here in my little circle, we continue homeschooling through the year, but it doesn't look quite as intense over the summer because there's a lot more time outside and things like that. So we're doing a lot more nature studying. We do more things in the afternoon when it gets too hot and things like that. So first, the theme for May is our fairy, forest, and wee folk unit. So we had wrapped up almost all of the American Tall Tales. We still have David Crockett to do, and that's going to kind of lend itself to more towards the end, and I'll explain why in a little bit. As well as Legends of the Land here. So, first and foremost, we are looking at, take a step back, let's break it down little by little. So, for science, we are still doing our full moon phases. We are still doing little activities that go with that. We are also now pivoting to look at actually planting and maintaining the garden, not just looking at what flowers would be cute, but like actually doing fruits and vegetables. And we'll be talking about pollinators, so birds and bats, bees and dragonflies, all of them. And we'll be talking about how each one does what it's supposed to do. I haven't quite decided if we're going to do the life cycle for fruit as opposed to like life cycle of a flower. That feels a little bit more kindergarten-ish, a little bit more first grade-ish. Pardon my nose. My allergies are going crazy. So, I don't know. We might get into like, fruit comes from the flower, so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, but then we're going to go get into, which we had in a conversation about, like, why pumpkins are berries. So, it could be kind of confusing. We could just kind of let that be and see. We're going to see if she actually wants to go into it or if she wants to just go play in the dirt with me. So, we, once again, now, the lore of the wild, I brought up this one last time. And this was like birds and animals and the actual, some flowers, some trees, but this is mostly like birds and animals and bugs and why the seasons are the seasons. But lore of the land is a little bit more where we want to be this month. This one is very much like creation story of the forest, woodland flowers, the magical Moras of the Hill, why are volcanoes magic, creation stories for mountains, creation stories for the sea, and things like that. So this is like leading us into the geography. This is leading us into land and sea and like how a map looks. It's all going to come together, I promise. So we have this one. And Lore of the Wild's going to be the beginning of the month. We're going to come back to this, right? And we're going to revisit whenever we do our wee folk stories. So that's part of it. Now, we will be, if we're going to look at language arts, because that's where I went to. I'm sorry. We are in language arts now. Watch my ADHD go while I'm on camera. So Lore of the Wild is where we're starting for this month. And with that, we will also be doing the story of, like, we have a house brownie. Why do we have a house brownie? Because I've always had a house brownie. Why I've always had a house brownie? Because my family was mostly Scottish influenced. There was some Irish as well as Melungeon traditions that were blended all together. So I kind of took what in these moments, taking what resonates with you is important. But I have made my house brownie mad. I don't do a lot of fae work otherwise. I do believe in a house spirit, and I do believe in a helper that comes around. Yeah, there's a lot more to get into with that. And that might not be your practice, that might not be your style, but in our house, that's why we have a thing, and I think I mentioned it before, where the fairies will take your electronics if you are naughty. So, it's not necessarily wrong to blame the fairies, if you know what I mean, but I know that a lot of the time people are going to be like, well, why would you do that? It's giving the Fae a bad name and everything. And it's like, if you knew what my brownie has done when it got pissed off, you would know why I say the fairies are taking your stuff. But, okay. So, with that, we are also looking at, hang on, so here's the book for Davy Crockett that we're looking at. The American Legends. We've got, this series has John Henry, Johnny Appleseed, and Pecos Bill. I feel like Davy Crockett was good, but, you know, we really need more Paul Bunyan. So that's why we did the Stephen Kellogg for Paul Bunyan. Let's see. What else are we doing? There's something else. Oh! To tie in our science with our language arts, we are playing the game Wildcraft. So you've got, this company, The Learning Herbs, has stories about the fairies that come and help with the herbs. So we'll be reading some of those and then playing the actual game. Now, I got this, a couple years ago now. 3 or 4. So I got these for my older girls, especially when they were into like fairies and Tinkerbell and wanting to make potions and stuff and doing all the fun things. So now I'm going to be bringing Maggie into it and reintroducing it in a way that, you know, Izzy will be able to come back into it now. Now, Miss Beans over there is probably not going to be interested, but she might. You never know. We'll see. We'll see what she does. But with that, I have the Corroborating Kids Herb book. Now, this book is really cute. You have a little gnome that meets you in the beginning. His name is Mr. Greenleaf. And he walks you through things that come with herbalism and like how to make things and different songs. Like it's got using cinnamon for all kinds of like actual things. So this is more like the scientific part of like what you would use herbs for, but I will be having notations obviously to set things up for like the magical uses. There are also some things in here that it talks about what it does. Like an old thing that they do in Japan was to put a plum in your navel to make your stomach feel better. So they have little tidbit stories with that. And it gets your mind going and it teaches them how to use things in a story setup. And I really love that. It also has pretty accurate drawings and labeling of things. So that's really good. Now, there are things in here. It says, you know, don't do this without your parents. And parents, make sure that you're doing this right because there are parts of a plant. Like, if you get some elderberry, you have to cook it, right? You have to, or else you're going to get really sick. And that's just one of the rules of learning herbs. So if that's where your mind goes, if that's where your flow goes, if you like the herbalism, if you like bringing it into the kids, I would highly suggest both of those things if you are able to afford it. Otherwise, just let the kid do something with you, you know, have them go out, show them how to properly dig up dandelions and make a dandelion tea or dandelion salve or something like that. Something really simple that isn't going to kill them, you know. But that's how we're tying our science and our language arts together, like in a cohesive way. Let me see. We have, we'll also be doing our altar to kind of reflect that a little bit. So we'll be doing like a nature walk and bringing in like the first signs of greens out here. Because remember, for the first day of spring, and yes, even for Beltane, for May Day, it was nasty. It was gross. There was snow. It was 39 degrees and huge storms on May Day. Like, we're not going to be able to do anything for that. So, respecting the way seasons work here in Wisconsin, we are going to go out now. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're late. No, we're not late. We're right on time with our season. You know what I mean? Following a calendar is difficult because a lot of people have a preconceived notion of, well, if it's not by this day, it's not done right. But I'm telling you, follow the seasons and the rhythms of your area and you will be just fine, okay? Let's see. We have, a little while back, usually what we do for taxes is we split off a little bit of it for the homeschooling budget that we have. It's not much for the year. It's like a couple $100 for the whole year, which is items, curriculum if I want it, special activities, things like that. Like, I have to really piece this apart. But there came a time when I realized that I was not properly, I wasn't teaching in a way that she was understanding, and we were having a lot of miscommunication as far as like math goes. So I have dyscalculia, so I have to really stop and break it down. She can do large things in her head. We're talking thousands place and 10,000s place in her head. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to, I want us to look at the whole number as it is and make sure that we all know. Because she can speed through it, but she doesn't show her work either. You know what I'm saying? So, like, any of us who have ever had the whole, well, you didn't show your work, so the answer's not right, before you get upset, because I was the same way. It's not a matter of, I want to make sure that her, you know, she has to show her work, but it's a matter of, I noticed that more times often than not, as she's speeding through it, the bigger the numbers get, the more complicated they get. She stops if she thinks she has a hiccup and then doesn't go. Like, she just was like, I don't know this one then. And I'm just like, but you just did so much. So, being able to stop our brains just a little bit in ADHD mode and, like, carefully break it down so that we're not overwhelmed or frustrated in this moment of the complexities of how, of even the foundations of math at times. So with that, we decided to go back to Miss Karine. She's over on OutSchool, and she is wonderful. She does a lot of Waldorf-inspired storytelling applications, especially for math. And so we went with the times part 2, because we'd already done part 1, and place value, which was excellent. So with this one, with the rest of this month, we will be learning like math families, math facts with like 7, 8, and 9, as well as an introduction to things like squares, and which is feeding back into the math family, as well as oh, it got dark. I think it's gonna rain. But as well as like an introduction to area, which is important because in 3rd grade, you know, we started a little bit here and there with like division. So like a half of a cup is 2 scoops goes into 1 cup. Or we went into like cutting a pizza into 8ths, or, you know, something like that. The concept of breaking something big down into something small is there, but the actual application of division is starting next year in the 3rd grade. And while I know that Mags can do that, I've watched her do it in a real life kind of way. When it comes to making sure that she has it a little more complex, she is doing things way faster. And so I just want I'm trying to keep up with her while also making sure that her foundations are right, because she does do that thing where as she's learning new skills, she loses older ones. So, for example, like when we started learning like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and things like that, and she got better with her story writing, her math fell off a little bit. When she really started having a breakthrough in language, she had an issue with like gross motor skills. It's like there's only so much that she can make fit in her brain at one time, and that's okay. We're prepared for that. That's why we homeschool. That is how we meet the needs of her autism. With her, that is her learning disability, is that she ends up losing some of those skills as she's learning something new. So we have to constantly go back. And it's okay to go back. It's okay to go back and make sure that everything fits there again. Even if it's just like a refresher, even if it's just on a game, even if it's just reading a book, it's okay. But doing Miss Karine's work has really helped me approach numbers in a new way, in more of a Waldorf style, like whole number abstract, instead of just looking at numbers on a page, you know, as well as keeps everything in our head really well. So like, you know, Maggie does great with her stuff, and you know, she'll watch a story and then she'll watch it again, and she'll like put pieces together as she's working it all out, and then we'll come back to math again and she'll be like, oh yeah, I already know this. So it's really reassuring when we have that. Oh, you had a little spill?
Yeah.
Okay, do you need a towel?
Yeah.
Okay, can you find a towel? If you have a spill, I want you to try to, is it a big spill or a little spill?
That's tasty.
Just a little spill? Okay, I think it'll be okay. Would you like to take this and go with the spill? Okay, thank you. One of the things that I'm teaching Brynja right now is like, the spills happen, right? And if you have a little spill, just go get a towel. Go get a towel from the basket and wipe it up and clean up, and that's okay. You know, it teaches her that she can accomplish something, not to be afraid of it, because God knows we all have some trauma around spills and breaking stuff, right? So I'm trying to break that. Anyway, as we were going, the next thing that we're doing after math, we're going to be pulling in together the parts that prepare for next year. So in 3rd grade, that is usually in Waldorf, that is the Exodus age. So at about 9 or almost 9, they really start to become their own person. They start to develop more of their personality. You see them go into that, you can see preteenness coming. You can see like where they've truly broken off from the attachment from parent and caregiver into a little bit more assuredness of themselves. And so when we are moving that, traditionally the setup is based around the exodus of the Hebrews from Egypt. I'm not saying we're not doing that. That is a story we're doing, but we're doing other ones. We're also doing when, like, I'm going to be giving a watered down version of Coming to America, of when slaves were freed and moved, of when the indigenous were moved off of their land. Obviously, not all in the beginning of the year, right? Like, the whole part of like the Exodus, leaving the part of being part of mother, being part of caregiver, being part of that as they go into the next phase of their life. Like, this is a huge milestone year, and I'll be bringing in things like we'll be doing a lot of pioneer work, a lot of exploration work and things like that. I'm giving it to her watered down. Not that she can't handle the truth of what it is, because she's very socially minded, but because there are things in nuance that she will not understand yet. So laying the groundwork is going to be important as we build on it, to build cultural appreciation, to build historical accuracy, and to build being a better person moving forward. So a lot of making sure that we recognize the crimes that were done will come at an age when she is emotionally ready to handle that. Okay? So I don't want you to be like, well, I'm teaching my kids. Well, I understand. We have to meet them where they're at. And if your kids are ready for that, bring it on. If you have some precocious kiddos who can understand the nuance of, what happened in the past is why we're doing better now, then do it. There is plenty in our family history of displacement and exodus that we can talk about. So that's going to be a big one. The other part that ties into that, we will be talking about Wisconsin. We'll be talking about how we feel as a person in our bigger space. So obviously, as we integrate them into society, the biggest thing about socializing that we have is like how they're going to interact with people in everyday life. So if you are like me, you've already had them at the grocery store, running errands with you. So you've got grocery store, post office, church if you go to it, a third place if y'all go to it, other families, other functions, community days, playground interactions. Let me think. Oh, the library. Did I say the library? I'm pretty sure I did. Anyway, homeschool groups, all encompassing, like, part of it. But we'll be going more into depth. So we are going to be pulling everything together to start the groundwork for community, geography, and who we are in our place. Okay, so like, this is also a safety thing so that we can make sure that she has memorized her phone number, her address, She can, because all the time she'll ask me, are we still in Wisconsin? Where are we? I'm like, well, we live in this city in Wisconsin, so we're not there yet. We are on this city and we are going back to home. And it's like the concept of space, much like the concept of time, doesn't quite apply to her yet, so we will be slowly integrating all of that and putting more of an enforcement on that. I'm really hoping that as we move forward, we will have something a little bit more cohesive, but that's where we are for right now. I will be checking in more often, and we will definitely, I still have the summer check-ins. Those are going to be public on YouTube, but I'll have them public on Patreon too for everybody, just so that we can kind of keep the same flow going, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping moving forward this year that it goes a little smoother, that things stay stable enough that we don't all have to have a panic moment. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to talk about it at length right now, because this is not I don't talk about politics. If you know anything about me on my social media, you know exactly where I stand on politics, right? So I feel like if I talk about it right now, especially in this space, then it will have literally, crawled its way into every aspect of my life, and that's one more part where I'm going to have a mental breakdown, because the side of me that is so justice driven, that is so help someone out, that is so community building in my brain, is just screaming, because it feels like nobody wants to do anything near me. Nobody wants to put things together, or if they do, it's very, well, everything's fine, it'll all be fine. It's very Sally Bowles from Cabaret. It's like, oh, what does politics have to do with that? They're just little people. Like no, we're supposed to be teaching our children to be the community, to be the change, as well as how we act now. We can't just teach our kids and then say Godspeed. Like, we have to actually also participate. Breathe. So, there will be big things coming for next year. I finally have enough to get me through, I think, 4th grade for all of the curriculum set. I just have to make it nice, and I just have to get it out to y'all so we can start going. That will be for sale on Etsy. It's not going to be, most of the time, because a lot of things you'll have to get, obviously, your books and things. I am hoping, fingers crossed, that things go smooth, knock on some wood, somewhere, that things go well, so that as we move forward through the summer and have our summer stuff, and I'm still writing the 2nd book for Discerning Christian Witchcraft and everything like that, that the homeschooling things that I can get out to y'all. And I know I've made some promises before, and it was really a struggle because the first book just whooped my butt, right? I am really, really hoping that I'll be able to do like exclusive video content for y'all. So either some songs or read aloud some books that aren't normally on YouTube. If you can't find the books, I will be doing my best to make sure that everybody has everything, or at least access or knows where to look. Do you know what I mean? Most of my manpower goes into just researching where to find stuff and then reading it and making sure I'm doing it right, as well as curating everything. And I hope that y'all find some comfort in that too. There will be, I'm making a caveat as an aside, there will be some Christian aspects on the side. There will be, but not in the evangelical, oh my God kind of way. In the Christian witchy kind of way. There will be some things that I have that we've set aside that I want to share with y'all, to share with your kids if you want to. A lot of people lose that aspect of their practice when they have kids, and then they start getting into it when their kids are older and kind of keep it to themselves. So I'm hoping as we move forward that you'll be able to take some things and share with them and just introduce them to a couple things. It's not like you have to do it. It's just something you can add on to it, whether it's the part of the Wheel of the Year or the moon phases, whether it is a seasonal altar, songs and prayers, things like that. It's all coming together. I just have to make it pretty. I'm not just going to take pictures in my notebook and send it to you. So keep your eyes open. Have some patience with me over the summer. And I will see y'all next month for our monthly check-in. If this is the last month y'all are doing anything, be blessed. I hope that you've had a wonderful year, and that as we move forward, we have another wonderful season. Bye now.